spoiler warning. We're going to go into great details within this movie.
A lot. Like, graphic detail.
Not as much as the movie goes into graphic details, but still. So, without further ado, this is the review for
Batman, The Killing Joke.
Okay. So, to start off, we have an intro by Mark Hamill introducing how he got his role as Luke Skywalker, and then how he didn't want the role of the Joker in Batman the Animated Series from the 1990s.
That being said, he did have a list of characters he did want. However, the Joker was just not on that list. He had a great conflict with, his role as Luke, the image that he already had, and how completely, different the Joker is from Luke.
Exactly. Going from the main character, the main good guy, to the most psychotic bad guy in comic book history was kind of a throw-off for him. However, nowadays, he is the Joker. He is the epitome. Is the iconic Joker.
Well, particularly for our generation.
Yes.
And I say this because there are so many iconic actors that have both voiced and portrayed the Joker in so many different mediums. But for us, Mark Hamill will always have that perfect pitch, that perfect laugh that is the Joker.
Yeah. I mean, you do have Cesar Romero, who was the first Joker. He had so much energy and brought so much vitality to the character, which was great. Then Jack Nicholson, who was the gangster.
Yeah, he took it to another level, which is what started all of the Batman films, I think.
Yes. From there, you have a person who took it so deep, he ended up losing his life.
Rest in peace. On a lighter note, we have
a new Joker coming up who seems to be on meth.
Seriously, it's like he's going through the whole spectrum of illegal drugs.
Yes. I mean, you have the Joker who's high, the Joker who's on cocaine, the Joker who's on meth, and the Joker who's just
an alcoholic.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell. And then you have Mark Hamill as the Joker. Perfect, without any regards for anything else. That's why he is the Joker. So
he seems to take if we can stop for a moment and just talk about Mark Hamill as the Joker. Flat out, the simple fact that he has this voice that he creates, it comes somewhere from within him. We have no idea how he does it. He doesn't even know it. But it's like he was born for this role. Well, that and Luke. It's like he is the iconic on the spectrum, and yet the Joker is one of those characters that it's particular to every actor, and Mark Hamill just seems to take it to a level that is iconic. You can't, especially our generation, cannot imagine
anyone else.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, props to so many of the other actors, but Mark Hamill's voice, his laughter, that laughter is just, it settles into your skin, it chills you all the way to your bones. It is psychotic, it is manic, and yet at the same time, it is perfection.
Yes. Now, without further ado, we go into the movie.
Okay.
So, we start off the movie with what I
Batgirl.
consider the first movie, because it's technically two movies.
Yeah, that is one thing we should comment in, that it does, the storyline seems disjointed, almost like two classic episodes mashed up together by a very thin thread.
Yes. We start off with how Batgirl becomes infatuated not only with Batman, but also with one of the villains.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say she was infatuated. He was infatuated
No,
with
she
her.
was also infatuated
She
with
was
him.
infatuated with the idea of the attention, not so much the villain himself. The attention that she was finally receiving in this high stakes game, which is the attention she had always wanted from Bruce.
Yeah, but she had been warned from the beginning that that's how it was played. And she knew the risks. We do see in the movie that a Robin had been killed in the past.
Oh yes, there is a very subtle nod to it. I mean, there's no dialogue reference to it, but it's just image. Images are so profound in this film. It's Freudian.
Yeah, to say the least.
Precisely.
Okay, so
I mean,
honestly, we're gonna skip over the whole Barbara.
well, I guess I'm sorry. We have to address the simple, elephant in the room. There is a sex scene. Subtly
There is
implied.
no.
It's subtly
There-
implied.
It's implied, but there is no sex scene. She takes off her blouse. Bruce grabs her from behind and pulls her in, and it fades out. There is no sex scene.
Well, it goes with the classic, films with back in the day. It was always, you would see the lovers embrace, and then the camera would pan out to some scene, usually fireworks, symbolizing that they
You
have
have
had.
never seen any 007 movie, have you?
I have. I'm just talking about classic films that were,
I mean classic old school 007. Sean Connery 007.
oh my gosh, I'm talking older than Sean Connery, okay? Film buffs should know. We're talking about, Marilyn Monroe era.
Okay.
Thank you. That's where I'm going.
Okay, Casablanca, yeah.
Exactly. It was always implied. It was, you get the hint.
Yeah.
So it does it in a subtle way where it's just enough to be like, WTF, and then fade out. She does flat out state it, at one point, yeah, it was just sex, get the fuck over it.
It doesn't mean anything. We could just go back to being how it was. However, at this point, we see the thread, thin as it may be, that connects both storylines. It's Bruce becoming too attached to Barbara and caring too much about her, where he is unable to protect the rest of the city because he is trying to protect her.
And at the same time, we see the moment where Barbara finally realizes and gets it, settles finally into her that this isn't a game. This isn't just for kicks. Sure, she's good at it, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this whole time, all those 3+ years that she's been with him, it's been continuing.
So, at this point is where we see the beginning of the second story.
Yeah, we have the segue into the Killing Joke.
And the Killing Joke itself is marvelous.
Oh, it is so amazing. It is spot on. It hits every point of the story arc perfectly while keeping it concise. However,
I would have enjoyed it to have been a complete movie in itself.
and just focus on the Killing Joke. I understand where the writers were going with trying to give Barbara her own story, trying to give her more of a platform where that she really hasn't had, especially when it comes to feature films. But it felt just a little too disjointed in that. It felt like they were just, it was a thin thread.
If it had only been the first third of the movie, I would have understood that.
Mm-hmm.
But they did the first half of the movie.
Yeah, they needed more of the Killing Joke itself.
Yeah, they did. Seriously, they did. But it starts off with the Commissioner, Barbara, and the Joker coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Joker comes in, shoots Barbara in a place in the hip and spine where she'll never be able to walk again.
To our knowledge.
This not bearing any of the New 52 or anything of the sort where she's able to walk again.
This is the precipice of her becoming the Oracle, of course.
Yes.
What I'll say is the lines are hilarious in this extremely morbid scene, and you can't help but laugh. It's kind of fucked up.
And the thing is, that is sad in itself.
Yeah.
Because you get to see the Joker's full backstory. I mean, we had known before that he was the Red Hood, how he fell in a chemical bath, and that's how his skin got bleached.
But you really see the reason, the whole purpose of him becoming the Red Hood.
Exactly.
You see what drove him. And it's sad because he's very true in his simple fact of saying, everybody is just like me. They're one bad day. It was one horrible day. Mm-hmm. And I mean, seeing that moment of him trying so hard to achieve his dreams of becoming a comedian, of providing for his wife that's pregnant, and just going all out that he can, trying to do what he can, and becoming so desperate to say, you know what, if this is all I have to do is one petty crime just to support my family, I'll do it. Anybody that has a family, that has ever been in really tight financial constraints, knows what it's like to have to make those decisions of feeling that you're driven to that point, particularly with the era that it seems to imply that the Joker comes from a time where men were expected to provide.
Exactly. Well, technically it is from that era. The Joker, the way they set it up, looked around 1940s, early 1950s. Mm-hmm. So it is an era where he was expected to provide for his family. And as a comedian, well, it didn't set up for much.
Yeah, I mean, most comedians, even today, will tell you you have to have a really, good break for any success. And sometimes it takes years. I mean, think about musicians and any artist, any art form, it takes time. I mean, for so many teeny boppers, you can go ahead and see, oh, they just suddenly were on the scene. It takes years of touring, it takes years of training and just conditioning, really, in any art form, mm-hmm. to get to that point of, hey, here I am. And let's hope that the public, loves you.
Yeah. From this point on, we see Commissioner Gordon being taken by the Joker to a theme park that he had bought, which I'm guessing had been the place where he was fired from. I'm not quite sure.
No. He wasn't fired from that. Remember in his story arc, he resigned from his work at the factory, at the chemical factory.
No, yeah, he resigned from the work at the chemical factory, but when he went to apply as a comedian, I think it was in that carnival, that place, where he messed up a line, and they didn't hire him.
Oh, where he missed the punch line.
He missed the punchline. I believe it was that one.
I'd have to go back and double check, but it's more than likely, yeah, because there's so much symmetry to this entire episode, this moment, that there's just so much to see.
Yeah, this whole movie keeps taking you back and forth, once you start on the Killing Joke.
Yeah, which I think would have been so much better if the focus had been entirely on the Killing Joke.
Oh, God, yes. The moment the commissioner gets there, the Joker starts to try to drive him mad. From the fun houses to the bearded lady, mm-hmm. the giant man, the werewolf, and the tiny children, evil looking.
Which we believe are supposed to be
midgets.
Little people. Let's try to be a little PC.
Midgets. Midgets with angel wings. They had angel wings.
Yeah, they did. That being said, at the same time, we are going back and forth also with Batman and him basically trying to find out what's happened. Mm-hmm. You see him, first of all, seeing Barbara in the hospital, realizing that she's been paralyzed from the waist down. There is a tender moment where it solidifies and brings in that thread from the first half of the film of him caressing her cheek and basically realizing I couldn't protect her. Even when she was no longer Batgirl, when she was simply Barbara Gordon, commissioner's daughter, librarian, student, and she was still a victim.
The moment he does that, she wakes up, remembers that her dad was taken, and that's when you see Commissioner Gordon go through one of the most hellish rides in any animation history, which I can honestly say I would love to see in Universal Studios.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that, particularly for the last half of that ride.
Yes.
In which the Joker decides to, on various television screens, to show him pictures of Barbara Gordon bleeding naked. To which, I mean...
He thought he had left her.
So, after seeing those horrible scenes, obviously, the commissioner is left in a state that's pretty much catatonic. He is checked out mentally, emotionally. He's physically exhausted, probably cold and freezing. To which the Joker's like, fine, go ahead, take him away. It's not as much fun as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And decides to send a nice little invitation just for Batman.
Yes.
Who has at this point been asking around, trying to find out where exactly the Joker would be. Interesting fact that the scene where he's talking to the hookers under the bridge, in which I read an article referencing about this simple fact that we know the creators did not mean to imply this, but apparently the Joker has a habit of visiting the ladies of the night soon after, before even it's out on the street, known that he's out. He goes, visits, and takes care of his, needs, to which he has not done. And one of the hookers decides that he probably found himself a new girl. Well, knowing that he went directly to the commissioner's house, shot Barbara, and we see him unbuttoning her blouse, it's implied. Although we know according to the directors and writers, that, oh no, that's not what we meant, but it's there. It's in the artwork, it's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have that, and the fact that when Batman is talking to Barbara in the hospital, in that moment which he touches her, and she kind of comes to, he's basically verbally like, okay, stay with me, because he can already see her kind of starting to go down that rabbit hole of, oh my god, what just happened to me? Which would coincide perfectly with a rape victim.
Yeah. Alright, so Batman gets the invitation. He goes off to find Gordon at the amusement park, or carnival, whatever you want to call it.
Amusement park, I think, fits best.
Yeah, because there are several rides.
Oh, we should mention that the gentleman that decides to sell this amusement park to the Joker is voiced by none other than Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Joker decides to kill him. And the face of the character upon, the reveal of his death is the exact
Joker
from his animation series, to which was a nice little nod.
Yeah, they make a few nods here and there.
Absolutely, which is pretty fun, especially if you're going to go back and watch this film over and over again.
Which we will.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Batman gets there, releases Gordon, tells him that Barbara is fine, and still Gordon tells him to go by the book, to teach the Joker that their ways are still fine, that
it works.
Yeah.
Show him our ways
work.
Exactly.
Throw the book at him. However, throwing the book at him has a double meaning in this movie, because earlier in the movie, Gordon had been almost driven crazy and shown that Batman himself needed to have the book thrown at him because he didn't follow any of the laws or any...
He breaks the same rules. Obviously being a vigilante, he's going to. It's taking the law into your own hands. And the simple fact that it goes against everything of the system of having law enforcement, of having rules and guidelines. Something that the Joker, of course, forces the commissioner to see in his own double standard. To which the commissioner, of course, props to him to coming to terms with that and still saying, you know what, we still need Batman. We still need this epitome of good to balance this epitome of crazy evil. Otherwise, we're all effed.
Yeah, seriously. So from there, Batman goes after the Joker. He finds him in a topsy-turvy version of the Joker's past home.
Oh yeah, upside down, which is amazing because the visual symbol of, the Joker recreating his home, his apartment where his wife died, upside down. This, look how my life got flipped upside down, and of course, obviously not trying to reference Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
Awesome show. But it is that one day that his entire life got flipped upside down, and his wife dies, he loses his wife, his child, and he's still forced into portraying the Red Hood, to which then he is thrown and physically changed. He is beaten to within an inch of his life, and he snaps. I mean, we can see how one instance can just change a person so horribly, to which Batman does know. And it's something that obviously the Joker comes to terms with, that everybody is one bad day away from being just like me. To which he verbally confronts Batman in this and saying, I know you are just like me in this. I know you had one bad day and that's why you are the way you are. Which comes so close to him really knowing Bruce without ever knowing who Bruce Wayne, behind the mask. Mm-hmm. It's, I know you to your core. I don't need to know your name. I don't need to know where you live or who your friends are or who your family is. I know you. And
that in itself is something that Bruce and Alfred had mentioned. How can they hate each other so much? How can there be so much hatred amongst each other and them not knowing anything about each other?
To which I think it's because they know each other so well as individuals at their core of what it is that drives them, that they don't need to know the
simplistics.
Yeah.
Then they know enough nuances of each other to be able to destroy each other.
Really?
So
you have this moment where, of course, Bruce says, you know what? Not everybody in the world is like you. They're not one bad day away from basically insanity. Which I think is Bruce kind of lying to himself, because he doesn't want to come to terms that, the reason you know this guy so well, the reason you can track him down is because you are just like each other. Mm-hmm. They're the polar opposites of the single branch, they are rooted, like a tree, rooted in the same horrible, moment in their own personal lives.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Bruce losing his parents in front of his very eyes.
Which technically were taken away from him by the Joker.
True. And yet, at the same time, you have the Joker in this storyline, where his own life is torn apart. The woman he loves, his future child, gone. And then being told, no, you still have to go through with this. There's no point. He's already grieving, and then that's it. What life he could have led is lost, and then So the writers essentially give him this moment that at this point, this is it. This is the top moment that they are ever going to have. This is them just bare bones, who they are at their cores. We are who we are, and we're still going to have at least one good laugh together and walk away not as friends but as equals. Equals in the sense that we're both crazy, just different kinds of crazy.
This very much reminded me of Doctor Who, when he has that one moment with the creator of the Daleks.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that.
Yeah, they had hated each other so much, but at the same time, they respected each other, and not loved, but cared enough for each other where they were never able to destroy each other. Because the Doctor had saved him when he was a child. And then, even though he's tried to kill the Doctor on many occasions, he's never really been able to. Something always comes in the way.
Which is perfectly paralleled with Batman and the Joker.
Exactly.
You have these two individuals that are so intertwined, yet not at all connected, yet completely joined at the hip. It is an amalgamation of just their characters as a whole. And it's interesting to see, that the writers give them the moment to really show that. And honestly, some of people disagree, saying, you guys are fucking crazy, this was just a horrible ending. It's what it symbolizes. I think you need to really go back, watch it again, and see it for what it represents. Because really, The Killing Joke is all just so packed with symbolism.
The movie is more psychological than a horror-based, action-packed thriller. It's a psychological suspense thriller, and you have to be ready for that. Don't go in wanting to see just action. Remember, this is by the creators of Batman the Animated Series, the one from the 1990s.
The one that really went dark.
Exactly. Where we had the noir in the action. It was more suspense. It wasn't all instant gratification. So don't expect that.
Yeah, you really have to build up to these moments. I mean, even in the original animated series, you had those moments where you had to have been watching regularly, you had to have known the relationships beforehand, and every little reaction is very symbolic of what they're feeling, of what's going on in their head. And it really, I think, for me, it introduced me to the subtleties of symbolism within any feature film. And of course, obviously, that carried on to today. But it's something that if you don't know the series, if you don't know the animated series, go back, watch it, buy it, go onto Amazon, do what you gotta do.
It's probably on Netflix, you'll find it.
No, it isn't, but...
Okay, Amazon Prime then. Amazon Prime.
Probably Amazon Prime, I don't have that. That being said, I love that show. I grew up on that show, and seeing that animation style coming back, oh my god, it was amazing.
The parts that threw me off were where they combined the 2D with the 3D.
Yeah,
it just didn't work for me.
But to me, at the same time, it did remind. It was very symbolic of, yes, we are going back to this, deep form of writing. We're going back to this nuances within the characters, but at the same time you also have the modernization that we realize that we could have gone this whole 2D format, we could have really brought it back and modernized it.
It should have just been pure 2D for that movie. It should have just been pure 2D.
Yeah, but you know what, I like that when they used it, it was at that theme park. It showed to me, honestly, like the contrast of the colors and the contrast of the styles was so garish that it represents.
The horses just threw me off.
It did throw me off, but you know what? It set the tone for the intense craziness of the Joker versus, your classic, sleek,
Now, if you want the classic craziness of the Joker...
No, I didn't say classic. No, not classic Joker. I'm saying
there's
modern.
one moment.
Oh, jeez.
You know where I'm going with this.
And
we haven't talked about it.
He's been waiting. He's been waiting this whole time for it. Okay, go ahead. Go.
Mark Hamill singing in this movie is bloody brilliant.
It is genius. It is absolutely genius.
The fact that it was him singing, number one. The lyrics were fucking amazing. I'm sorry for my dialect here, but oh my god, it was fucking amazing. The choreography, the animation style,
everything just screamed, Batman the Animated Series. That to me, I mean, down to every little nuance for me. It was so spot on. And you could tell they took the time to really try to bring those moments out, those scenes from the comic itself, from the graphic novel, those scenes that you would have already known, have you known the story.
They used the same lyrics from the comics into the movie.
It's just finally put a tune to it, and hearing it with Mark Hamill's voice. Let it be said that he will be buying both the DVD and
DVD, Blu-ray,
sorry,
and the soundtrack by itself to have in my car to listen to every single day as long as I'm able to.
He's gonna know it by heart.
God, yes.
Please don't sing.
I won't.
Thank God.
I don't have Mark Hamill's voice. His angelic voice.
Yeah, that's angelic for him.
Anyway.
Okay, so of course after the credits, and we do have to mention, credits roll, and then again you have that moment where we see Barbara Gordon coming home, you know, on a headset, talking to her dad, saying, yeah, I'm gonna be busy, sorry I can't see you, and secret sliding door, enter the Oracle. This is where her story is essentially nicely, neatly wrapped up of, okay, here we're going into this new arc of her life.
Yeah. Technically, the movie ends there. Thankfully, we don't see any more Barbara. Sorry. Was annoying to me. But we do get another clip of the madness to the music, where the composers come in and talk about all the music they created, especially the musical. So you get another 10-15 minutes of this, which is so worth it. And the main reason why I'm going to buy the Blu-ray for those extra minutes of that.
It'll most likely just be a special feature, but it is definitely worth checking out. Seeing behind the scenes, everything that's, you know, gone into this, it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, actually seeing...
Really, it just has the relationship kind of cheapened. I feel like it could have been a lot better. I feel there's a lot more to her than just this whole, let's end it with her, you know, basically pining and, okay, trying to take the higher road and breaking it off early.
But hopefully with this movie, if it's a hit, then I'm guessing it is going to be.
It better be.
DC will start making more animated movies that are not just cheap-ass direct-to-TV animated movies like they usually do. And hopefully this will be more, they will make more adult-themed animated movies like they do.
I feel like we're finally getting to that era where it's finally sinking in that, you know what? Animated, it doesn't necessarily mean it's for kids. And that's something anyone...
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do want to see Batman, a Lego movie.
That's for kids. But it's
don't
still
get me wrong, I want to see
fans.
that. But still, this is a completely different type of movie.
Yeah, no.
And it was still bloody awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Killing Joke. If you haven't seen it and we've spoiled everything for you, still go.
No, we haven't spoiled everything. There's still a lot to see. You still have to see at least the singing. At least the singing,
yeah. I mean, we can't describe it. It's not like we're have little clips to show you. All we can say is watch it.
Alright. And till next time.